let's talk about emotions. Where did they really come from? Most of us think of feelings like happiness or sadness as these automatic reactions, things that just happen to us. But what if that whole idea is just wrong? Okay, let's get into it and explore a new way of thinking that could totally change how you see your own emotional life. Think about a moment of just intense public emotion, like when Connecticut Governor Daniel Malloy was speaking after the Sandy Hook tragedy. He talked about the teachers who died protecting their students, and his voice just cracked. And watching him, you could feel it too, right? A lump in your own throat. It feels like this universal, shared human experience of sadness, like it's a reflex, hardwired into all of us. And that's the big question we're going to tackle. Is it true? Are feelings like sadness and fear and joy these universal things baked into our DNA from birth, just waiting for a trigger to go off? For centuries, that's pretty much what everyone believed. But the science, well, the science is pointing somewhere else entirely. So let's start with that traditional idea. Scientists have a name for it, the classical view of emotion. It's the one that just feels like common sense. The classical view says that emotions are built in from birth. They're universal, meaning everyone in every culture has them. And they work like a reflex. Something happens out in the world, and it just triggers a specific emotion circuit in your brain. This idea has been around forever. We're talking from Aristotle all the way to Freud. It just feels right. But what happens when the evidence doesn't actually fit? And this is where the story gets really, really interesting. Because when scientists started to look closely, they found some major cracks in this whole theory. For researcher Dr. Lisa Feldman Barrett, it all started when she was a PhD student. She was running experiments based on this classical view, trying to make people feel anxious or depressed. But they didn't. Her test subjects just weren't feeling the right emotions. And after eight experiments in a row failed, she realized the problem wasn't her experiment. It was the entire theory. And this wasn't just her. When scientists started looking for these so-called emotion fingerprints in the brain, they came up empty. There is no single part of the brain that lights up for anger or for sadness or any single emotion. And get this, the amygdala, the part we've all heard called the fear center, it also fires up when you're angry or sad or even when you're just learning something new. The evidence for these built-in emotion circuits just wasn't there. So what happens when we build real-world policies on a bad theory? You get a number that looks like this one, $900 million. That's how much a TSA program called SPOT cost U.S. taxpayers. It was designed to train agents to spot terrorists by reading their facial expressions and body language, based on the idea that these things are universal signals of feelings like anxiety. But because emotions aren't universal reflexes, the whole program was a massive failure. Being wrong about this stuff has some pretty serious consequences. Okay, so if the classical view is wrong, what's right? This brings us to a really revolutionary new idea, the theory of constructed emotion. And to get it, here's a great little story from Dr. Barrett. She went on a date and she started feeling all the things. Her face was flushed, her stomach was doing flips. Her brain took a look at the context, "we're on a date," and made a prediction. Wow, this must be attraction. But then she got home and she threw up. She had the flu. The physical feelings were exactly the same, but her brain constructed two totally different experiences based on the situation. And that's the absolute core of this new theory. An emotion is not a reaction. It's your brain's creation. It's best guess for what your bodily sensations, that racing heart, that fluttering stomach, actually mean, based on everything that's going on around you. Your brain is actively building your emotions from scratch. Here's a great way to think about it. Think about cookies. What is a cookie? There's no single recipe, right? They can be chewy, crispy, sweet, savory, but we lump them all into one category called cookie. Well, emotions are exactly the same. There's no single thing called anger. It's a huge category. You can be angry and shout, or you can be angry and be perfectly calm. Your brain just uses the same word for a whole bunch of different experiences. So how does your brain actually pull all this off? Well, it's constantly running something called a body budget, and that budget is basically the engine that drives all of your feelings. The whole process starts with something called interoception. It's a fancy word, but it's a simple idea. It's just your brain's nonstop monitoring of everything going on inside your body. Your heart rate, your hormones, your energy levels, any little ache. This constant internal chatter is the raw material for your feelings. Your brain uses all that interoceptive data to manage your body budget.
It's kind of like a financial advisor for your body's energy. It's always trying to predict what you'll need and balance resources like glucose and cortisol. So, a good night's sleep, that's a huge deposit. A stressful day, that's a major withdrawal. Even just seeing your boss walk in can make your brain predict you'll need more energy and make a withdrawal. And that general feeling you have, pleasant, unpleasant, calm, wired, that's basically just your brain telling you the state of your budget.
Now, this system is brilliant, but it has this one critical flaw. Our brain's interpretations can totally fool us. And when they do, the consequences can be huge.
It's a phenomenon called affective realism, and all it means is that you experience the feelings coming from your body as if they're facts about the outside world. So you don't feel bad because you're tired and hungry, you feel that the world is a bad and frustrating place. If you want to see just how powerful this is, look at this wild study of judges. Researchers found that judges were way more likely to deny a prisoner parole right before their lunch break. After lunch, the parole rate went right back to normal. Now think about that. The judges weren't being cruel, they were just hungry. Their brains mistook the unpleasant feeling of a low body budget for a bad feeling about the prisoner. Their internal state became someone else's external reality. And if you still need proof that emotions are constructed, not universal, just look at different cultures. It blows people's minds to learn that Tahitians don't have a concept for sadness. In situations where we would feel sad, they construct the feeling of being ill or tired. The Upku Eskimos have no concept for anger. Now, if these emotions were really built in, that would be impossible. It just goes to show that we learn these emotion concepts from our culture. And this all leads us to one final, really powerful and empowering idea. If your emotions are constructed, that means you have way more control than you think. You are the architect of your own experience. So what this all means is, the old view makes you a passenger. Emotions just happen to you. But this new science, it puts you in the driver's seat. Your brain isn't just finding emotions that are already there, it is actively building them. You are a critical part of creating your own emotional reality every moment of every day. And you've been learning how to do this since the day you were born. As a baby, your brain started connecting words like happy or angry to what was happening inside your body and outside in the world. Over time, you build this rich library of emotion concepts. And the coolest part is, by learning new words and having new experiences, you can actually keep adding to that library your entire life. So, let's end with this question. Knowing that your brain uses your past to build your present reality, knowing that it's always making predictions, that gives you an incredible kind of power. The experiences you have today become the raw materials your brain will use to build your emotions tomorrow. So, the real question is, what are you going to teach it to build next?